The night was too quiet for comfort. A storm pressed against the wooden walls of the small house, its breath heavy with rain and unspoken fear. Inside, under the soft glow of a flickering lamp, a baby slept, his tiny chest rising and falling with the fragile rhythm of innocence. Beside the crib lay a German shepherd, his coat damp from earlier rain, his ears alert to every whisper outside. He wasn't sleeping. He couldn't. Something beyond the walls didn't belong to the night. A faint crack in the distance, a shift in the wind that carried the scent of danger. Thunder rolled closer this time. The baby stirred, a soft whimper leaving his lips. The dog's gaze snapped to the door, muscles tensing, instincts burning. Then came the sound, a low creak wood straining under. The shepherd rose, silent but fierce, positioning himself between the crib and the door. For a moment, lightning illuminated them, the dog's eyes glowing with a promise, the baby's tiny fingers clutching air as if reaching for his guardian. The storm wasn't the only thing coming. Something, or someone, was out there. And the shepherd was ready to fight for his world. Show your love, hit like, share, and subscribe for more. The dawn was gentle yet fragile, spilling soft golden light over the worn wooden floors of the small countryside cottage. Outside, the world awoke in muted whispers, leaves trembling in the early breeze, birds calling faintly in the trees, and the distant murmur of a creek that ran behind the property. Inside, the cottage smelled of warm milk, earth, and a faint hint of hay that had blown in overnight. In the corner of the living room, a small baby slept peacefully in a crib, tiny fingers curled against soft blankets, unaware of the world around him. But the quiet was not complete. Just beyond the doorway, a German shepherd, large, alert, and with fur the color of autumn shadows, lay motionless on the rug. His amber eyes followed every flicker of movement, every subtle change in the air. He had appeared at the porch only days ago, drawn by a cry that had sounded almost like desperation. Since then, he had made the cottage his sanctuary, silent and watchful, as though he had always been meant to guard the child within. The baby stirred slightly, a soft gurgle escaping his lips. The dog's ears pricked instantly, body shifting closer, muscles taut yet careful. He lowered his head to gently nuzzle the child, warm breath brushing against tiny fingers. It was a gesture both tender and protective, a silent promise that he would remain there, unwavering should danger ever come. The baby responded instinctively, fingers curling around a tuft of fur, a connection forming in a way words could never capture. Claire, the baby's mother, moved quietly across the room, carrying a cup of tea. She had noticed the dog's presence immediately, felt the subtle weight of his watchfulness. Quiet sang, Spud. You've chosen him, she whispered, voice barely audible, as if he knows. She knelt near the crib, eyes tracing the gentle curve of the dog's body, the way his gaze never left the baby. Ranger, she had named him that, was more than an animal. He was a guardian, a protector, a silent lifeline in a world that could so easily turn fragile and dangerous. Morning light shifted across the room, highlighting the small imperfections, the scratches in the wood, the uneven lines of the walls, and the scattered toys that littered the floor. Yet amid this simple domesticity, the bond between baby and dog radiated a quiet intensity. It was not spoken in words but in instinct, in mutual understanding, in the slow rise and fall of breath in unison. The wind picked up outside, rattling the window panes gently. Ranger's head lifted, ears twitching, tail flicking with a low, measured thrum of caution. He sniffed the air, muscles coiled, eyes narrowing toward the trees lining the yard. Danger might be far, but his senses did not allow him to wait. His gaze returned to the baby, and he exhaled softly, a signal that all was safe, for now. The baby's tiny finger traced the outline of Ranger's fur, a touch as innocent as sunlight, yet filled with an instinctive trust. Ranger responded with a gentle nudge, leaning into the touch, a silent affirmation of connection. Claire watched, a swell of emotion rising in her chest. She realized that in this moment, love and protection were intertwined in a way that transcended language. Ranger's vigilance was not merely defensive. It was nurturing, a profound understanding of what it meant to guard something precious. Outside, the leaves quivered in the wind, and a distant bird call echoed. Ranger's head lifted again, ears forward, muscles tensed, yet his body remained close to the crib, a living barrier. The baby's gaze followed his movement, eyes wide with curiosity and trust, sensing the presence of something larger, stronger, yet deeply gentle. Claire stepped back, realizing that the dog's presence had changed the atmosphere of the cottage entirely. It was no longer merely a home. It was a haven, a sanctuary under the watchful eyes of a guardian who had chosen to stand unwaveringly in the shadows, ready to protect at all costs. The day began in this fragile balance of calm and alertness, the baby exploring small movements in the crib while Ranger followed with patience and care. Every tiny gurgle, every soft coo from Eli was met with the dog's attentive gaze, a constant reminder that the bond between them was already unshakable. By midday, the light had shifted to a warm golden hue, illuminating the small details of the cottage. The worn edges of the crib, the scattered toys, the soft blankets, yet all attention remained fixed on the relationship unfolding. Ranger nudged the baby gently, guiding him away from a sharp edge of the crib, and pressed his warm body against the child's side, reinforcing a sense of safety and calm. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her hand along Ranger's thick fur. "You're more than a dog. You're a lifeline," she whispered, and for the first time, Ranger's amber eyes softened in acknowledgement. It was not pride that glimmered there, but understanding. The bond was mutual. Trust and love flowed both ways. Evening approached, and the soft hum of life continued. Ranger remained alert, head turning to watch shadows, ears twitching to the faintest sounds outside, yet always returning his attention to the baby. Eli's small hand brushed along his fur, and the dog responded with gentle nudges, careful not to startle him. Night fell, draping the cottage in quiet darkness. Ranger lay beside the crib, chest rising and falling with measured breaths. Eli slept, tiny fingers pressed into the dog's fur, the softest sigh escaping from his lips. Claire sat nearby, watching in awe, understanding fully that the guardian they had found was no ordinary companion. He had become their lifeline, their protector, their silent witness to the first fragile days of life, and the bond forged today would carry them through every trial yet to come. In the soft glow of lamplight, the cottage seemed to breathe as one. Baby, dog, and mother intertwined in a delicate harmony of protection, trust, and love. Outside, the world waited, full of unpredictability and danger, but inside, the bond was absolute, unspoken, and unbreakable. The morning sun had just begun to filter through the curtains when a sharp, insistent noise pierced the quiet of the cottage. Ranger's ears pricked immediately, nostrils flaring as he sniffed the air. The faint scent of someone, or something, moving through the nearby forest reached him, carried on the cool morning breeze, his body tensed, tail low and rigid, muscles coiled like springs ready to release. Eli stirred in his crib, a soft whimper escaping his lips. Ranger nudged him gently with his snout, exhaling a soothing breath that spoke volumes. "Do not fear. I am here." Claire, sipping tea near the kitchen counter, froze as she caught the subtle shift in the dog's posture. "Ranger, what is it?" she whispered, her voice trembling. She had come to recognize every nuance in his behavior. The subtle stiffening of muscles, the careful narrowing of amber eyes, the soft, low rumble that warned of unseen danger. The dog did not respond with bark yet. Instinct had him analyzing, calculating the threat. From the tree line, faint footsteps pressed against the moist earth. Ranger rose, moving silently toward the porch, eyes scanning the shadows beyond the yard. Every fiber of his being was alert. Eli's tiny hands reached for the edge of the crib. Ranger nudged him again, a gentle reassurance, then positioned himself between the baby and the door, his presence a living barrier. Claire set the cup down, heart racing. She gripped the baby carefully, glancing at the dog. "Oh, we need to stay calm," she murmured, though her voice betrayed the tension curling in her chest. Ranger's gaze never left the shadows. The intruder's silhouette emerged cautious, almost deliberate, moving closer with the intent of testing the household. Ranger let out a low growl, resonant and controlled, warning and commanding in equal measure. The intruder paused, sensing the unwavering vigilance of the dog. Ranger's posture remained fluid yet menacing, a perfect combination of power and restraint. Suddenly, the figure lunged toward the porch. Ranger intercepted immediately, moving with precision, teeth flashing in a warning snap. The intruder stumbled back, surprised by the dog's agility and authority. Claire instinctively hugged Eli close, pressing him against her chest. Ranger barked sharply, growled deep, his entire body a shield around the baby. The intruder attempted another approach, slower this time, but Ranger mirrored each move, blocking the path, circling with controlled motions to anticipate every angle. His body language spoke clearly. You will not reach him. For several tense minutes, the intruder tested the perimeter, circling, hesitating, looking for any weakness. Ranger responded to each maneuver with calculated precision, never leaving the baby unguarded for a single moment. Eli whimpered softly, but was soothed by the dog's steady presence, the warmth of fur pressed against him, the gentle exhalation against his tiny hand. The intruder, realizing the dog would not yield, finally retreated into the shadows. Ranger's amber eyes followed every movement until the figure disappeared entirely from view. He lowered his stance slightly, muscles relaxing but remaining alert. Eli cooed softly, reaching out to press his tiny hand against Ranger's chest. The dog nudged him gently, reinforcing a sense of safety and calm that had been tested and proven. Claire exhaled, feeling the adrenaline slowly drain from her body. She knelt beside them, brushing her hand along Ranger's thick fur. "You're incredible," she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. "You protected him, like he's your own." Ranger's gaze shifted briefly toward her, amber eyes reflecting understanding, then returned to Eli. Ranger remained near Eli, nudging him gently as he explored the crib, ensuring he avoided hazards. Every movement, every small coo and gurgle from the baby was met with attentive patience. Ranger's vigilance did not waver, though the immediate danger had receded. By midday, the yard remained calm. Ranger patrolled the perimeter subtly, sniffing the air, listening to faint forest sounds, his body poised and ready. The baby crawled slightly in the crib, fingers brushing at Ranger's fur, and the dog responded with gentle nudges, guiding the child safely. Claire observed, heart swelling with awe. The bond between them had grown even stronger after the night's tension. As evening approached, shadows lengthened across the cottage floor. Ranger lay curled near Eli, pressing a warm side against the baby. The sky outside was painted in soft oranges and purples, the forest beyond quiet, yet Ranger's alertness never fully dissipated. Claire knew that the dog's sense of duty was constant, unwavering, as reliable as his love for Eli. Night fell, and Ranger remained beside the crib. The baby's breathing slowed, deepening into sleep. The dog pressed closer, body warm and protective. Claire whispered softly, brushing her hand along his fur. "You were his lifeline. And mine too." Ranger exhaled softly, amber eyes reflecting the calm night light. Outside, the world waited with unknown dangers, yet inside the cottage, peace prevailed. The break, the first true test of Ranger's courage and vigilance, had passed. Yet it had also proven the strength of the bond, the silent, unspoken promise that he would protect Eli, no matter the threat, no matter the cost. Trust had been tested, courage proven, and love reinforced. In the quiet of the night, the bond between baby and dog was absolute, unbroken, and infinitely profound. The early morning mist hung low over the forest, curling around the trunks of trees like restless ghosts. Ranger's ears pricked, nostrils flaring as he sniffed the damp air, muscles coiled and ready. Something had shifted overnight. A faint trace of danger, subtle but undeniable, carried on the crisp breeze that rustled through the leaves. Eli stirred in his crib, small hands clutching the soft blanket. "Bernardin?" Ranger nudged him gently with his nose. Careful, controlled, exhaling soft, reassuring breaths. "Do not fear. I am here." Claire moved cautiously to the window, watching Ranger's alert stance. "Ranger, do you sense them again?" she whispered. The dog responded with a low, measured growl, eyes fixed beyond the yard, where shadows of movement seemed to flicker among the fog. He rose slowly, body fluid and controlled, positioning himself between the crib and the door, chest low, tail stiff. "Ak." The baby gurgled softly, and Ranger nudged him again, a calming reassurance that radiated trust and protection. The intruder from before had vanished into the woods, but Ranger's instincts told him the threat was not gone. It had only shifted, hiding within the trees. Every rustle, every snap of a branch, made him tense further. Claire followed him silently, clutching Eli close, heart pounding as she realized just how sharply tuned the dog's senses were. Ranger sniffed the air, body moving in smooth, precise motions, mapping the invisible lines of potential danger. Suddenly, a branch cracked loudly underfoot. Ranger leapt forward, hackles raised, teeth flashing in a low warning snap. The shadow moved closer, deliberate, cautious. Ranger circled instinctively, blocking the path to the baby, growling with steady intensity. The intruder tested his perimeter again, but Ranger mirrored every motion with careful precision, never leaving the crib unguarded. His amber eyes locked on the figure, every muscle taut with controlled energy. Claire's hands trembled as she adjusted Eli in her arms. You won't let anything happen to him, will you? She whispered. Ranger's gaze flicked briefly to her, soft yet unwavering, and then back to the shadows. There was no doubt. The dog's loyalty and courage had no limits. His body became a living shield, a guardian of life itself, and his presence radiated assurance through the tension-soaked air. The intruder advanced cautiously, but Ranger anticipated every move, sidestepping and blocking, teeth ready in calculated strikes. Each growl, each bark was a command. Do not come closer. The baby whimpered softly, but Ranger pressed closer, body warm and protective, nudging him with gentle, precise movements. Every instinct, every movement was fueled by devotion. Time stretched slowly, each second laid in with suspense. The intruder finally hesitated, realizing the dog would not yield. Ranger held his position, stance unbreakable, eyes locked in unwavering vigilance. He was the line no threat could cross, the silent barrier that separated safety from peril. Claire exhaled slowly, clutching Eli tightly, heart pounding with a mix of fear and awe. Minutes later, the intruder retreated, disappearing into the dense fog of the forest. Ranger lowered his stance slightly but remained alert, amber eyes scanning the trees for any sign of movement. Eli's soft cooing filled the quiet space, his small hands pressing instinctively into Ranger's fur. The dog exhaled a slow, steady breath, reassuring the child, and the connection between them deepened. Trust, love, and protection intertwined in unspoken harmony. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her hand along Ranger's thick fur. You've given him safety. And so much more, she whispered. Ranger's gaze flicked to hers, then to Eli, amber eyes glowing with calm determination. The bond had grown stronger through this test. Vigilance, courage, and devotion had forged an unbreakable connection that no shadow could diminish. The morning passed with careful rhythm. Ranger remained near Eli, guiding his tiny movements with gentle nudges, blocking hazards instinctively and teaching the baby safety through presence alone. Claire watched, realizing that Ranger's instincts were not just protective. They were nurturing, patient, and deeply understanding. Every subtle movement, every calculated action reinforced the sense of security enveloping the child. By afternoon, the forest seemed quieter, yet Ranger's vigilance did not waver. He patrolled the perimeter of the yard, ears twitching, nose sniffing, tail low but alert. Every potential threat was noted. Every change in the wind or shadow registered in his acute awareness. Eli explored safely under Claire's watchful eyes, fingers brushing along Ranger's fur as the dog guided him with gentle precision, protecting without imposing. Evening fell slowly, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and purple. Ranger remained beside the crib, pressing close to the baby as night approached. Claire whispered softly, stroking his fur. You are his lifeline, Ranger. And mine too. Amber eyes met hers, steady, unflinching, reflecting understanding and calm pride. Outside, the forest lay in shadow, full of unknown danger, but inside the cottage, the bond between baby and dog radiated warmth and trust. The day ended with a quiet harmony, baby and dog in protective embrace, Claire nearby, heart full of gratitude. Ranger exhaled softly, body relaxed but always alert, a constant reminder that safety and love were intertwined, and that his devotion would never falter. The pursuit of safety was ongoing, but in these moments, trust had been earned, courage proven, and love reaffirmed. The air was heavy with the scent of rain-soaked earth and fallen leaves as morning light filtered through the mist. Ranger's ears twitched, nostrils flaring, muscles coiled like springs. Something had shifted in the forest beyond the cottage. Though the previous night had passed without incident, Ranger sensed unease. His amber eyes scanned the edges of the yard, tail stiff, every nerve attuned to the smallest movement. Eli stirred in his crib, tiny fingers curling into the soft blankets. Ranger nudged him gently, exhaling calm breaths, a silent promise of protection. Claire moved to the window, heart tight. Oh, do you feel it again? She whispered. Ranger's low growl answered before any words could. The forest seemed alive, leaves rustling unnaturally, shadows shifting as if in anticipation. He moved silently to the porch, positioning himself between Eli and the possible threat. The baby's eyes widened, recognizing instinctively the tension in Ranger's body. He pressed closer to the crib, pressing reassuring warmth against the child. Suddenly, the faint sound of crying reached Ranger's ears, Not Eli's, not Claire's, but a small, panicked voice coming from deeper within the forest. Ranger's body tensed immediately. He sniffed the air, muscles tightening as he identified the source. A child from a nearby property, lost and frightened. Calling for help. Ranger's instincts kicked into full action. This was no ordinary threat. This was someone in immediate danger. Claire and Eli were forgotten for the moment, safe under Ranger's careful watch. Ranger bolted toward the forest, agile and precise, nostrils flaring to track the voice. The mist thickened as he ran, limbs moving fluidly, ears alert to every sound. He followed the faint, panicked cries, weaving between trees, leaping over roots and fallen logs with ease. Each bound was calculated, each step precise, driven by a singular purpose: to rescue. The child's voice grew louder, desperate and trembling. Ranger's growl was low and steady, signaling safety even as he closed the distance. He emerged into a small clearing and froze, amber eyes locking onto the source of the cries. A small girl, muddy and frightened, crouched under a tree, shivering. Ranger lowered himself slowly, tail wagging gently, eyes softening to communicate safety. The girl hesitated, fear still gripping her, but something in Ranger's gaze told her she was not alone. Claire followed behind cautiously, carrying Eli, breathless from the sudden urgency. "A ranger, is that her?" she asked softly. Ranger exhaled, nudging the girl gently with his nose. Her eyes filled with tears, and she reached out, touching his fur tentatively. A ranger pressed closer, careful and protective, signaling that she was safe now, that she could trust him. The tension of the forest seemed to melt slightly, replaced by a fragile calm. Claire knelt beside the girl, brushing mud from her clothes. "It's okay, sweetie. You're safe now," she said, her voice soothing. Ranger's amber eyes remained vigilant, scanning the shadows for any sign of further danger. He moved around the girl, circling protectively, making it clear that nothing would harm her while he was present. Minutes stretched slowly, each one filled with quiet relief and lingering tension. The girl's sobs quieted as she leaned into Ranger, pressing her face against his fur. The dog's warmth, strength, and calm presence reassured her, creating a sanctuary in the heart of the damp forest. Claire helped her to her feet, careful to keep Ranger between them and the forest. Every movement of the dog was precise, protective, a living shield against any unseen threat. Together, they began the journey back to the cottage. Ranger led the way, nose close to the ground, ears alert to every sound, tail low but moving with confidence. The girl clung gently to his fur at times, trusting him completely, relying on his instinct and courage. Claire followed behind, Eli safe in her arms, grateful for the steadfast guardian who had once again transformed fear into relief. As they emerged from the forest into the soft light of morning, the cottage appeared ahead, familiar and safe. Ranger slowed slightly, exhaling a soft breath, ensuring the girl was calm and secure. The tension of the journey began to lift, replaced by the profound relief of reaching safety. The girl's tears dried slowly, replaced by quiet awe and gratitude as she realized the extent of Ranger's courage and care. Back at the cottage, Ranger positioned himself carefully around the girl and Eli, ensuring no harm could reach them. Claire knelt, brushing his fur and whispering words of thanks. "You did it again. You saved her," she said, tears in her eyes. Ranger exhaled slowly, amber eyes meeting hers, then the child's communicating that the danger had passed and all was well. Eli reached out, tiny hands pressing against Ranger's fur, while the rescued girl tentatively mirrored the gesture, her fingers brushing gently along his back. Ranger responded with patient nudges, letting both children feel the safety and warmth he provided. The cottage, once again, became a sanctuary, a space protected by loyalty, courage, and the unbreakable bond of trust. The day faded into evening, the air warm and still, carrying the sense of earth and grass, mingling with the faint aroma of cooking. Ranger lay curled beside Eli and the rescued girl, chest rising and falling steadily, amber eyes scanning the horizon, even in relaxation. Claire watched them, heart swelling with awe. She realized that the dog's bravery was not just instinct. It was love, manifest in every calculated motion, every protective stance, every gentle nudge. Night settled over the cottage, stars twinkling through the windows. Ranger rested beside the crib, body curved protectively around the sleeping children. Claire sat nearby, eyes full of gratitude. The trials of the day had tested courage and resolve, yet Ranger had proven once again that his devotion knew no bounds. The bond between dog and child, guardian and protected, had deepened beyond words, forged in action, trust, and unshakable love. In the quiet night, the cottage breathed as one, safe, secure, and bound together by a loyalty that transcended fear, a bond that would endure every trial yet to come. Ranger exhaled softly, amber eyes reflecting calm pride. Peace, for now, had been restored, and the lessons of courage, vigilance, and trust had been learned anew. Morning light spilled gently over the cottage, painting the wooden floors with gold. And dang the wooden floors with gold. The events of the past days, the intruders, the sudden dangers, and the forest's lurking shadows still lingered in the air. Ranger lay near Eli's crib, amber eyes scanning every movement, every flicker of light, every whisper of wind outside. He had survived, he had protected, yet there was a quietness now, a subtle pause in the rhythm of the household, as if the world itself was exhaling. Eli stirred, small hands brushing against the dog's fur. Ranger exhaled softly, nudging him gently with his nose. The baby cooed, a sound that melted tension and healed lingering anxiety. Claire, watching from the corner, felt a warmth rise in her chest. The bond between them had deepened, forged through trials and moments of quiet survival, now tempered with a gentle rhythm of reassurance. The morning routine began. Ranger guided Eli's tiny explorations within the crib, nudging him away from hazards and encouraging curiosity. Claire watched silently, realizing that safety and growth were intertwined. The dog's gentle actions were lessons in trust, patience, and calm resilience. Every subtle nudge, every precise movement communicated more than words ever could. You are safe. You are loved. You are not alone. Outside, the forest remained quiet, bathed in soft sunlight. Ranger walked slowly along the porch, scanning the tree line, his vigilance never fading but tempered with a calmer energy. The storm of past danger had passed, yet he remained attuned to subtle changes, the shift of shadows, the flutter of leaves, the distant call of birds. Each observation was deliberate, a careful exercise in ensuring that Eli could explore safely while the world beyond remained unpredictable. Claire joined Ranger on the porch, holding Eli in her arms. You've done so much for him. And for me, she whispered. Ranger's amber eyes met hers briefly, calm and resolute, before returning to scan the horizon. There was no pride, no show of dominance, only quiet understanding and unwavering devotion. The bond between dog and child had become a living, breathing connection, a shared lifeline. Throughout the day, Ranger and Eli moved together in a delicate rhythm. The baby explored the crib, fingers brushing at Ranger's fur, guided by instinctual nudges and careful positioning. Ranger never allowed him to reach unsafe edges, never let him touch sharp objects or stumble over toys. Claire observed quietly, amazed at the dog's capacity for both vigilance and gentle teaching. The baby's small coos were met with patience, the occasional nuzzle, or the gentle warmth of his body pressed against him. As the afternoon sun shifted, Ranger's attention returned to the yard. He sniffed along the fence line, alert to every scent, every movement, but his tension had softened. He moved with a controlled grace, a balance of readiness and calm, showing Eli that the world could be navigated safely. Each step was a lesson in courage, each glance a reassurance of protection. Claire guided the baby's hands along Ranger's fur, reinforcing the tactile bond, the trust that had grown through shared experiences. Ranger leaned into each touch, allowing Eli to explore, encouraging gentle contact, reinforcing their mutual reliance. The baby's laughter, soft and fragile, became a soundtrack to healing, moments of joy replacing fear, trust building stronger with every passing hour. As evening approached, shadows lengthened across the cottage floor. Ranger lay curled near Eli, his body radiating warmth and protection. The baby's tiny hands traced his fur, fingers clutching instinctively. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her hand along Ranger's thick coat. You've given him courage, Ranger, and love, she whispered. The dog exhaled softly, eyes meeting hers, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they had formed. The night brought a gentle calm. Ranger remained beside the crib, muscles relaxed but ready, chest rising and falling with measured breaths. Outside, the forest rustled, distant calls echoing, yet inside the cottage, the bond between dog and child had become unshakable. Each day of danger and protection had woven lessons into their shared rhythm: vigilance, courage, patience, and love. By midnight, the cottage was quiet. Ranger lay stretched near Eli, body curved protectively around him. Claire sat nearby, heart full of gratitude and awe. She realized that the dog's devotion was not just instinct, it was an active choice, a living expression of care and love that nurtured both child and home. Through the night, the bond continued to deepen. Eli's gentle movements were met with nudges, reassurances, and warmth. Ranger had become more than a protector. He was a teacher, a companion, a lifeline, guiding the child through the fragile and unpredictable world. Claire felt her own heart lighten, knowing that courage, care, and love could heal even the deepest fears. By morning, the cottage glowed in soft light once again. Ranger rose with measured grace, amber eyes scanning for any sign of danger, yet tempered with calm energy. Eli stirred, tiny fingers reaching instinctively toward him. The rhythm of healing and growth continued, a cycle of protection, exploration, and love that would shape both their lives in ways profound and enduring. The cottage lay in an uneasy silence, morning light seeping softly through curtains, yet the air was heavy with the memory of past dangers. Ranger lay near Eli's crib, amber eyes scanning each shadow, each flicker of motion. Even though the intruders were gone and the nearby forest seemed calm, the echoes of fear lingered, subtle as the rustle of leaves outside. Every creak of the floor, every distant bird call, every whisper of the wind through the trees seemed magnified, carrying a threat unseen but deeply felt. Ranger's ears twitched, nostrils flaring, muscles coiled yet fluid, ready to react at a moment's notice. Eli stirred slightly, small hands brushing against the dog's fur. Ranger exhaled softly, nudging him gently with his nose, a gesture of reassurance and protection. The baby's coos resonated in the quiet room, tiny sounds that contrasted with the tension in the air. Claire, watching from across the room, felt her chest tighten. She realized that the fear of past nights had not fully left the cottage. Ranger had survived, he had protected, yet the memory of danger was still alive in their home, like shadows that refused to dissipate. The morning routine moved slowly, each movement deliberate. Ranger guided Eli's tiny hands along his fur, reinforcing calm and trust. Every nudge was purposeful, every touch gentle yet precise. The dog seemed aware of the fragility of the moment, of how past trauma could ripple through the baby's perception of the world. Ranger moved with patience, teaching through presence that even after fear, there could be safety, warmth, and love. Outside, the forest appeared calm in the morning light, but Ranger's vigilance never wavered. He padded to the window, nose raised, scanning the yard, tail low but tense. He sniffed the air, picking up faint traces of movement, subtle hints that the world beyond the cottage was never fully under control. Claire watched, heart pounding, recognizing the depth of Ranger's instincts. His body language conveyed more than alertness. It communicated understanding, empathy, and a protective love that transcended words. By mid-morning, a sudden noise startled them. A branch snapping somewhere in the yard. Ranger's growl was low, steady, and filled with controlled intensity. Eli whimpered, instinctively pressing closer to him. Ranger nudged the baby gently, body curved around him, exhaling a soft rhythm that mirrored calm. Claire moved closer, brushing her hand along the dog's fur, whispering reassurances, though her own heartbeat betrayed lingering tension. The echoes of fear were real, yet Ranger's presence acted as a stabilizing force, transforming the anxiety into manageable caution. Throughout the morning, Ranger maintained a delicate balance of vigilance and calm. He allowed Eli small explorations of the crib, guiding every movement with precision. A toy rolling too close to the edge was nudged back safely. A tiny hand reaching for a dangling blanket was gently deflected. Claire observed silently, captivated by the dog's ability to weave protection and teaching together seamlessly. The baby's soft laughter and coos punctuated the quiet tension, moments of growth emerging amidst caution. The forest beyond the yard remained quiet, yet Ranger's senses were never idle. Every gust of wind, every distant call of birds, every flicker of shadow was processed, measured, and analyzed. Ranger had learned that the past could inform vigilance without creating panic. He was the living shield between danger and trust, teaching Eli through calm and calculated movements that fear could be acknowledged, but not allowed to dominate life. By late afternoon, the cottage had settled into a fragile rhythm. Ranger circled the crib carefully, ensuring that Eli's tiny hands and movements were safe. The baby explored cautiously, trusting the dog's steady guidance. Claire assisted silently, brushing along Ranger's thick coat, marveling at the deep bond that had formed. Each protective gesture, each gentle nudge, each soft exhalation of reassurance reinforced the sense of security that had begun to replace the lingering tension. Evening approached, and with it came a new kind of quiet, the calm after a day of cautious vigilance. Ranger lay beside Eli, body lime and protective, muscles relaxed but ready. The baby's hands traced his fur, seeking comfort and guidance. Claire watched, heart swelling, realizing that Ranger's presence had become the axis of safety and growth within the cottage. Each small action communicated lessons of trust, courage, and patience, lessons that could not be spoken. Night descended slowly, stars glinting faintly through the window panes. Ranger remained curled near the crib, body curved protectively, amber eyes reflecting the faint lamplight. Outside, the forest whispered softly, rustling with subtle movements, but inside, a rhythm of safety and trust had taken root. Ranger exhaled slowly, his calm presence a living demonstration that the echoes of fear could be transformed into courage, vigilance, and unbreakable love. The night stretched onward. Ranger's body rose and fell with steady breaths, muscles coiled but at rest, ready for any threat. Eli slept, tiny hands clutching fur, every inhale and exhale safe under Ranger's watchful gaze. Claire, seated nearby, allowed herself to relax for the first time in days. She realized that healing was not just about surviving the past threats. It was about creating a space of growth and learning, where fear could coexist with love and caution with joy. As midnight approached, Ranger shifted slightly, nudging the baby gently. His amber eyes scanned the dark corners of the room and then softened as he pressed close, body radiating warmth and protection. The echoes of fear from previous nights were still present, yet in his vigilance and calm, he had taught Eli and Claire that survival was not enough. True safety was cultivated through patience, attention, and love, the kind that could heal wounds, teach courage, and nurture growth. By the first light of dawn, the cottage glowed with golden warmth. Ranger rose gracefully, muscles rippling beneath his coat, eyes scanning for the faintest sign of change. Eli stirred, reaching instinctively for him. Ranger nudged the baby gently, pressing his side protectively. The rhythm of exploration, vigilance, and comfort began anew. The lessons of the past, fear, survival, resilience, and trust, had solidified into an unspoken curriculum taught with every nudge, every glance, and every breath. The day moved forward with quiet harmony. Ranger remained near the baby, guiding, protecting, and nurturing growth. Claire watched, heart full of awe, understanding that this bond was more than companionship. It was a lifeline forged in danger, tempered in patience, and cemented through shared courage. Ranger had transformed echoes of fear into lessons of trust, presence, and love, proving that even in a world of uncertainty, safety and growth could thrive under the care of a devoted guardian. Night returned, soft and calm. Ranger lay pressed protectively around Eli, chest rising and falling steadily. The forest beyond was quiet, shadows long but no longer frightening. Claire leaned against the crib, eyes reflecting gratitude and quiet wonder. The lessons of fear, courage, and devotion had taken root. Ranger's amber eyes glimmered with calm pride as he exhaled slowly. Healing had begun, growth had begun, and the bond between dog and child had deepened into a resilient, enduring, unbreakable force that would guide them through every trial yet to come. Night had fallen like a velvet curtain over the cottage, the soft glow of the lamplight inside barely illuminating the room. Ranger lay curled near Eli's crib, amber eyes glowing faintly, muscles coiled yet relaxed. The day had passed without incident, but the dog's instincts were ever watchful. He had learned that calm was often fleeting, and shadows, no matter how soft or distant, could harbor unseen threats. The forest beyond the yard whispered with movement, each rustle carrying a faint tension that only Ranger seemed to perceive fully. Eli stirred, tiny fingers brushing instinctively against Ranger's thick fur. The dog exhaled slowly, pressing closer to the baby, body radiating warmth and protection. His presence alone was a shield, a constant assurance that no danger could cross the invisible line he had drawn around the child. Claire watched silently, heart pounding, recognizing that Ranger's vigilance was not born of fear but of love, a love so fierce it shaped the boundaries of the home itself. The wind outside shifted, rustling the leaves in a way that sounded almost like whispers. Ranger's ears pricked, nostrils flaring as he sniffed the air, his gaze flicking toward the shadows at the edge of the yard. Every movement, every faint scent was cataloged in his mind, each one measured against potential danger. He rose, muscles rippling beneath his fur, and padded to the window, body low, tail taut, eyes scanning. Eli whimpered softly, sensing the tension, and Ranger nudged him gently, exhaling a soothing breath. Claire held her breath, following the dog's every movement. It's okay, Eli, Ranger's here, she whispered. The words were soft, but Ranger's body responded as if to reinforce the message. Do not fear. I am with you. Even in the deepening shadows of the night, his presence transformed unease into measured calm. Suddenly, a distant snap of a branch reached Ranger's ears. His growl was low and controlled, a warning that vibrated through the room. Amber eyes locked on the door, tail stiff, he positioned himself between Eli and the potential threat. Claire's hand brushed along his back, feeling the taut energy radiating from every muscle. The dog's body language was precise, a living language of protection, warning, and reassurance all at once. Eli's small hands explored his fur, comforted by the steady heat and steady breathing of his guardian. Ranger's nudges were gentle yet purposeful, guiding the baby without alarm, teaching trust through action rather than words. The night deepened, shadows growing long and heavy. Ranger circled the crib slowly, muscles coiled but movements fluid, exuding calm authority. He sniffed the floor, ears pivoting at every sound, tail sweeping slowly, keeping a protective perimeter around the baby. Claire marveled at the rhythm of his vigilance, the way he balanced intense alertness with tender care, allowing Eli moments of exploration within the safe zone he had created. A faint sound came from the yard. A rustle, subtle yet distinct. Ranger froze, ears forward, nostrils flaring as he processed the scent. He padded silently toward the window, eyes scanning the darkened trees. Claire followed cautiously, clutching Eli close, heart hammering. The dog's movements were deliberate, calculated, yet full of grace. He emitted a low growl, a warning that was both calm and commanding, signaling that whatever lay beyond would find no easy passage. Ranger returned to the crib, pressing close to Eli, body radiating reassurance. He nudged the baby gently, guiding his hands along his fur. The small coos that followed were met with patience, the dog's amber eyes softening, though every sense remained alert. Claire felt tears prick at her eyes, overwhelmed by the quiet power of the bond before her. A bond forged in protection, love, and unwavering loyalty. Hours passed with slow, measured breathing. Ranger remained near the crib, alert to the softest creak of the floor, the faintest shift in shadows, the whisper of the wind against the window pane. Eli, lulled by the steady warmth of his guardian, drifted into sleep. Ranger exhaled softly, muscles relaxing just enough to allow rest while maintaining readiness, a balance only instinct, experience, and devotion could achieve. Outside, the forest continued its subtle symphony, branches swaying, leaves rustling, distant nocturnal calls echoing faintly. Ranger's gaze swept the horizon, amber eyes catching each movement, each shadow cataloging them, analyzing them, preparing to respond. Even in sleep, his body tensed slightly, ready to act at the first sign of danger. He was a living sentinel, the line of defense between the baby and any threat that might breach the sanctuary of the cottage. Claire moved closer, brushing along his fur, whispering reassurances. You've kept him safe through every night, every shadow, she murmured. Ooh? Ranger's gaze met hers briefly, steady and unwavering, before returning to watch the darkness outside. The shadows in the dark were no longer merely ominous. They were canvas upon which his courage and love were painted, every careful movement a brushstroke of protection. By the small hours of the morning, the first hints of light began to edge across the horizon. Ranger's body remained close to Eli, protecting, guiding, and nurturing. The baby's tiny hands traced patterns along the dog's fur, exploring, learning, trusting. Claire allowed herself a moment of relief, seeing that the night's tension had been contained, transformed by vigilance, courage, and the quiet reassurance of unwavering devotion. The forest outside gradually surrendered its shadows to the new day. Ranger stretched slightly, amber eyes still scanning, yet movement softened into a rhythm of calm. Olive reaching instinctively for him, and Ranger nudged gently, guiding and encouraging, reinforcing a sense of security that had grown stronger with each passing night. The morning sun spilled over the yard, golden light filtering through the trees. Ranger led Eli in small, gentle explorations of the safe spaces within the cottage, nudging and guiding, blocking hazards with subtle precision. Claire followed, watching the seamless flow of protection and teaching, the unspoken communication between dog and baby, a bond strengthened through shadow, fear, and enduring care. Evening approached, and the cottage settled into quiet harmony. Ranger lay curled around Eli, amber eyes scanning the faint shadows cast by lamplight. The night's fears had been acknowledged, yet they had not prevailed. Ranger's vigilance, patience, and courage had transformed potential danger into lessons of trust and safety. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her fingers along the dog's fur. "You faced the shadows and kept him safe," she whispered. Ranger exhaled, eyes meeting hers, calm and assured. As night deepened again, Ranger pressed close to Eli, chest rising and falling steadily. The forest outside whispered, yet the cottage remained a sanctuary. Each gentle nudge, each careful adjustment of position, each patient glance reinforced the lessons of the night: vigilance, courage, patience, and the transformative power of love. Shadows had come and gone, but Ranger's unwavering presence had turned them into opportunities for trust and growth rather than fear. By midnight, the cottage was still. Ranger lay pressed protectively around Eli, amber eyes soft but alert. Muscles relaxed yet ready. Claire watched, heart swelling with awe. The bond between dog and baby had deepened beyond fear, beyond instinct, into a living testament of courage, love, and resilience. Shadows had been faced. Fear had been contained. And through it all, trust had grown, anchoring the child in safety and the dog in purpose. The first light of dawn began to filter through the curtains. Ranger's amber eyes reflected calm determination as he nudged Eli gently, guiding him through the rhythm of awakening. Shadows had come and gone, yet the lessons of the night remained: vigilance, patience, courage, and the enduring power of unwavering devotion. The morning sun spilled over the quiet cottage, golden light brushing against the wooden floorboards and casting long shadows across the room. Ranger lay near Eli's crib, his amber eyes scanning every subtle movement, every flicker of light through the window, every soft sound in the still morning air. Even though the forest beyond remained calm, Ranger's instincts remained fully alert. Danger could appear without warning, and he had learned that patience and vigilance were as vital as speed and strength. Eli stirred, small fingers brushing against Ranger's thick fur. The dog exhaled gently, nudging the baby with his nose in a soft, protective gesture. Claire watched, heart swelling with quiet awe. The bond between them had become inseparable, forged in danger and tempered with love. Every movement Ranger made communicated reassurance, patience, and an unwavering commitment to safeguarding the fragile life beside him. Ranger's ears twitched as the faintest sound reached him, a distant rustle of leaves, subtle but deliberate. He rose smoothly, muscles rippling beneath his coat, tail low but tense, and moved toward the window. Claire followed cautiously, holding Eli close. The baby cooed softly, instinctively pressing closer to the dog. Ranger's amber eyes scanned the forest edge, analyzing every shadow, every branch, every subtle movement. Even the quietest hints of change were cataloged in his mind, measured against possible threats. The dog returned to the crib after a slow, deliberate patrol, nudging Eli gently, guiding tiny hands along his fur. The baby's eyes lit up with curiosity as he explored, his tiny fingers tracing the patterns in Ranger's coat. Claire smiled softly, recognizing that the lessons Ranger imparted went beyond safety. They taught confidence, exploration, and a sense of security that could withstand the uncertainty of the world beyond. Throughout the morning, Ranger maintained his vigilance while allowing moments of play and learning. He nudged toys closer to Eli, guided his hands carefully, and circled the crib periodically to ensure there were no hazards. Claire observed quietly, marveling at the balance between protection and guidance. Ranger's body language was a living curriculum. Caution and care, strength and tenderness, all fused into one coherent expression of devotion. Outside, the forest seemed to breathe in subtle rhythms: the whisper of wind through leaves, the distant calls of birds, the occasional rustle of small creatures. Ranger's eyes followed each motion, his nose sniffing faint scents carried by the morning breeze. He was aware of the world beyond the safety of the cottage, yet he had learned to integrate that awareness with patience, teaching Eli through example that vigilance could coexist with calm. That danger did not have to dominate life, and that love could be both protective and nurturing simultaneously. By midday, Claire had guided Eli to small explorations within the safe confines of the crib and the surrounding area. Ranger moved seamlessly between protection and encouragement, nudging the baby toward gentle independence while remaining ever ready to intervene if danger threatened. Each small action reinforced the trust that had grown between them. The baby's laughter, soft yet clear, echoed through the cottage, a living affirmation of the lessons Ranger had imparted through patience, vigilance, and presence. Ranger paused occasionally to glance toward the forest, amber eyes scanning the horizon. Though the intruders had been gone for days, he remained alert, understanding that the past had left traces in both the environment and their hearts. Shadows could hide threats, and moments of calm could be fleeting. He moved with deliberate grace, muscles rippling beneath his fur, tail low but stiff, ears forward, a sentinel, ever watchful, a guardian whose love demanded constant attention. Claire prepared a small lunch, glancing frequently at Ranger and Eli. You've kept him safe through everything, she murmured softly. Ranger's gaze met hers briefly, steady and unwavering, before returning to the baby. He exhaled slowly, the rhythm of his breaths a lullaby of calm reassurance. The lessons of the day were ongoing. Patience, vigilance, courage, and love. One, Ranger had taught that protection was not just physical. It was emotional, intuitive, and consistent. As afternoon light filtered through the windows, Ranger allowed Eli a small amount of freedom to explore the immediate area, guiding each movement carefully. He nudged objects away from dangerous edges, circled the crib when the baby shifted, and exhaled warmth whenever Eli made a small gesture of confidence. The baby cooed and reached instinctively toward Ranger, trusting him fully. Claire observed, amazed at how the dog's presence nurtured courage, teaching resilience and trust without a single spoken word. The day moved forward in measured steps, each one reinforcing the dynamic of protection and growth. Ranger's attention never wavered. Every flicker of movement, every distant call of the forest, every whisper of wind was absorbed and processed. He was a sentinel, a teacher, and a companion, shaping the baby's understanding of safety and the world. Each gentle nudge, each precise movement, each patient pause was a lesson in trust, patience, and courage. By late afternoon, the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long, warm shadows across the room. Ranger settled near Eli, body curved protectively, amber eyes scanning for the faintest hint of danger. The baby's hands traced the patterns in his fur, tiny fingers clutching instinctively. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her hands along the dog's coat, marveling at the silent communication, the rhythm of care, and the bond that had grown so strong through trials, vigilance, and shared moments of trust. Evening arrived, soft and calm. Ranger remained near Eli, exhalations slow and steady, muscles relaxed yet ready. The forest outside whispered, but the cottage remained a sanctuary. The lessons of the day. Vigilance, patience, courage, and love had been reinforced through every careful action. Shadows had been faced, uncertainty observed, and through it all, trust had grown, anchoring the baby in safety and the dog in purpose. Night fell completely, and Ranger pressed closer to Eli, body curved around him, protectively. And no sure. Claire watched, tears welling in her eyes as the baby drifted into sleep. The dog exhaled, calm yet alert, a constant living demonstration of courage and love. Every threat, every subtle sound, every moment of vigilance had built an invisible shield around the baby, a shield of trust, protection, and enduring devotion. The first light of dawn began to filter through the windows, soft and golden. Ranger shifted slightly, nudging Eli gently, guiding the baby through the rhythm of awakening. The forest outside began to stir, yet the cottage remained secure. Shadows had been faced, fear had been acknowledged, and the lessons of vigilance and love had been reinforced. The bond between dog and child had grown stronger, tested by past threats and solidified through unwavering protection and patient guidance. By mid-morning, the day began in quiet harmony. Ranger lay near Eli, amber eyes, scanning the room and yard, muscles relaxed but ready. Claire watched heartful, understanding that the lessons of vigilance, courage, and love were ongoing. Every nudge, every glance, every careful action reinforced the trust that had grown between them. Ranger had become not just a protector, but a teacher, a guide, and a constant source of calm reassurance in a world that could still feel uncertain. The day had begun calmly, sunlight spilling over the cottage and casting gentle warmth on the wooden floor. Ranger lay near Eli's crib, amber eyes scanning the room and the yard beyond. Yet beneath the tranquility, a tension lingered, subtle but undeniable, a storm within the forest and within their lives. Ranger sensed it, an energy vibrating through the air carried by shifting winds, distant rumbles, and the faint scent of rain approaching. His ears twitched, muscles coiling, eyes narrowing as he prepared for whatever might emerge. Eli stirred, tiny fingers brushing against Ranger's fur. The dog exhaled slowly, nudging the baby with his nose. Each movement was a mixture of protection and reassurance, teaching the baby that even in the presence of uncertainty, safety could be found in trust. Claire stood nearby, observing the scene with a mix of awe and apprehension. She had come to rely on Ranger's instincts, knowing that his vigilance was unmatched and his loyalty absolute. A distant thunderclap echoed from the horizon. Ranger's ears flicked sharply, nostrils flaring, tail stiffening, tail stiffening. He rose smoothly, muscles rippling beneath his coat, and padded to the window. The sky had darkened, clouds swirling like smoke above the distant trees. The first drops of rain tapped against the roof, soft at first, then intensifying into a rhythmic patter. Ranger's gaze swept the yard and tree line, scanning every movement, every shadow, every subtle disturbance. He understood that storms carried more than rain. They carried hidden dangers, falling branches, sudden movements, and the unpredictable behavior of wildlife. Eli cooed softly, sensing the change in the air but trusting Ranger's calm presence. The dog nudged him gently, pressing closer to shield him from the sound and the vibration of the approaching storm. Claire moved closer, brushing her fingers along Ranger's fur. "It's okay. You're safe," she whispered, her voice a fragile echo of the reassurance Ranger offered naturally. The storm outside mirrored the tension that sometimes lingered in their lives, yet Ranger's steady presence created a bubble of safety within the cottage. As the rain intensified, the wind began to howl, rattling the windows and doors. Ranger circled the crib slowly, muscles coiled yet fluid, tail low but tense, ears forward, eyes scanning every corner. He exhaled gently against Eli's tiny hands, pressing his warmth and reassurance into the baby's small frame. Claire watched silently, marveling at the way Ranger transformed potential fear into calm vigilance, teaching trust through presence rather than words. A sudden gust slammed against the cottage door, sending a shiver through the wooden frame. Ranger growled softly, a low, controlled rumble that communicated both warning and protection. He positioned himself between Eli and the direction of the disturbance, tail sweeping slowly, body curved around the crib. The storm outside was a reminder of the world's unpredictability, yet Ranger's unwavering focus created a sanctuary of safety, reinforcing lessons of trust and courage for the baby. The hours passed with slow, measured vigilance. Ranger allowed Eli to explore the crib and small, safe areas of the room, guiding his hands, nudging toys gently, and circling periodically to ensure no hazards threatened the baby. Every movement was deliberate, teaching the child patience, trust, and the balance between caution and curiosity. The storm outside became a distant backdrop, a test of endurance and composure that Ranger navigated with unwavering skill. Claire prepared a small meal, glancing frequently at Ranger and Eli. The dog's amber eyes tracked every movement, every subtle shift in the room, yet his body remained relaxed enough to allow calm interaction. Eli cooed and reached for Ranger instinctively, fingers tracing patterns in his fur. Each touch, each movement reinforced the bond between them, a living testament to courage, vigilance, and love. By afternoon, the storm had intensified, rain pounding against the roof in heavy sheets. Ranger remained alert, yet his movements were fluid and precise. He nudged Eli gently when necessary, blocking access to areas that might become unsafe if wet or slippery. Each action communicated reassurance, the subtle lesson that danger could exist without inducing panic. Claire observed, awestruck at the seamless way Ranger balanced alertness, protection, and teaching. A forest beyond the yard responded to the storm with movement. Branches bending, leaves swirling, distant animals seeking shelter. Ranger's eyes followed the subtle shifts, nostrils flaring as he cataloged scents carried by the wind. He understood that storms could provoke more than fear. They could incite hazards, force sudden reactions, and test vigilance. His role was to maintain control, shield the baby, and model calm, deliberate behavior amidst chaos. As evening approached, the storm began to wane slightly, though the rain persisted. Ranger lay curled near Eli, pressing his body protectively against the crib. The baby's hands traced his fur, exploring and seeking comfort. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her fingers along Ranger's thick coat, marveling at the depth of his devotion. Every protective gesture, Every gentle nudge, every patient glance reinforced the lessons of the day: courage, vigilance, patience, and love. Night fell, heavy with rain and distant thunder. Ranger remained alert, amber eyes scanning shadows and listening for subtle disturbances, yet his presence radiated calm. Eli drifted into sleep, comforted by the dog's warmth and the steady rhythm of his breathing. Claire leaned back against the wall, heart full, realizing that the storm outside was nothing compared to the storm Ranger had calmed within. The fear, uncertainty, and tension that could arise even from memories of past danger. By midnight, the cottage was enveloped in quiet, the storm's intensity lessening but still present. Ranger pressed close to Eli, chest rising and falling in steady rhythm, muscles relaxed yet ready. Each exhalation, each subtle shift of his body, communicated unwavering vigilance and protection. Claire watched, understanding that Ranger's constant presence had transformed fear into trust, teaching that courage could be nurtured, that love could shield against chaos, and that safety could be found even amidst uncertainty. As dawn approached, the storm began to retreat, leaving trails of wet leaves and puddles across the yard. Ranger rose gracefully, amber eyes scanning the environment while still remaining alert to subtle changes. Eli stirred, reaching instinctively for him. Ranger nudged gently, pressing protective warmth against the baby. The lessons of the storm had been absorbed through presence, guidance, and gentle correction. Fear had been acknowledged, navigated, and transformed into resilience, trust, and the quiet courage that comes from knowing one is never truly alone. By mid-morning, sunlight broke through the clouds, bathing the cottage in soft gold. Ranger guided Eli through small explorations, nudging toys safely and circling the crib as needed. Claire watched silently, heart full of awe at the seamless blend of vigilance, teaching, and love that Ranger embodied. The storm had passed outside, but within the cottage, the lessons remained vivid: patience, courage, trust, and unwavering devotion. The bond between dog and baby had deepened, resilient in the face of fear and stronger for the trials they had endured together. The afternoon sun hung low over the forest edge, casting long, jagged shadows that danced across the ground. Ranger stood at the edge of the yard, muscles tense, amber eyes scanning the tree line with the precision of a seasoned sentinel. The events of past days had sharpened his instincts to an almost supernatural edge. Every sound, every rustle, every subtle movement, cataloged and analyzed. Eli sat in the crib by the porch, small hands reaching for Ranger's fur, cooing softly, unaware of the silent tension in the air. Claire followed Ranger's gaze nervously. "What is it?" she whispered, though she already feared the answer. Ranger's ears twitched, nostrils flaring, tail low, and he had detected the scent before it reached human comprehension. A presence, someone moving cautiously along the forest path beyond the yard. The intruders from days before, or something new, was returning. Ranger's growl was soft at first, then deepened, a low rumble warning that danger approached. The baby stirred slightly, sensing the change in Ranger's demeanor. The dog shifted instinctively, circling the crib to position himself between Eli and the approaching threat. His body radiated calm authority, each muscle coiled and ready to act. Claire knelt beside the crib, brushing her fingers along his fur, whispering reassurances. "You've got him. You'll protect him," she murmured. Ranger's amber eyes met hers briefly, and in that gaze was a promise. "Nothing will touch him as long as I'm here." Suddenly, a branch snapped in the forest. Ranger's head shot up, ears forward, tail stiffening. The intruder was closer now, moving deliberately, unaware that a guardian watched from the yard's edge. Ranger's body tensed like a spring, muscles rippling beneath his thick coat. Any sudden misstep could expose Eli to danger, and he would not allow that. Claire's grip on the crib tightened as Ranger took a few slow steps toward the edge of the yard, eyes never leaving the shadowed figure among the trees. Eli's small hands clutched his fur instinctively, seeking comfort from the warmth and strength of his protector. Ranger exhaled softly, pressing his body closer to the crib, reinforcing safety without alarming the baby. Each movement was calculated, a perfect balance of readiness and reassurance. The intruder stepped closer, unaware of the silent guardian watching every move. Ranger let out a low growl, a warning that echoed across the yard and into the tree line. The figure paused, momentarily startled, but did not retreat. Ranger's stance shifted slightly, body lowered, muscles taut, eyes blazing amber as he prepared for the confrontation. Claire whispered again, "Stay calm, Eli. Ranger knows what to do." The baby cooed softly, sensing both tension and protection in the dog's careful movements. Ranger sprang forward in a controlled burst, barking sharply, a combination of authority and warning. The intruder froze, startled by the suddenness and intensity. Ranger's fur bristled, stance broad, teeth bared in a protective snarl. He advanced steadily, closing the distance, without exposing Eli. The forest seemed to hold its breath as Ranger asserted his presence. Every movement a declaration that the yard and its fragile occupant were under his complete protection. The figure stumbled back, now aware that retreat was the only viable choice. Ranger's bark echoed again, commanding and unwavering. The intruder's pace quickened, retreating through the trees, snapping branches underfoot. Ranger did not give chase beyond the yard's edge. He knew his duty was to protect Eli, not pursue vengeance. His amber eyes followed the retreating figure until they disappeared into the shadows, then returned immediately to the crib, exhaling a soft, reassuring breath. Claire's relief was palpable. She knelt beside Ranger, brushing along his fur, whispering praises he did not need but accepted with calm dignity. "You saved him." "Again," she murmured, voice trembling with emotion. Ranger nudged Eli gently, pressing his warm body close. The baby gurgled, small hands clutching instinctively, sensing both danger averted and safety restored. The bond between them had grown stronger through trials, each experience reinforcing trust, vigilance, and love. Ranger circled the crib, ensuring the baby was secure, inspecting the perimeter with careful attention. Every shadow, every distant sound, every subtle shift in the environment was monitored, cataloged, and processed. Claire observed, marveling at the seamless balance of protective instinct and gentle guidance that Ranger embodied. Eli reached out, fingers tracing the dog's thick fur, cooing softly, unaware of the gravity of the events just past. Evening approached, soft golden light spilling across the yard. Ranger remained near Eli, body coiled protectively around the crib, exhalations steady and calm. Claire prepared a light meal, glancing frequently at the pair, heart swelling with gratitude. Every breath Ranger took, every movement he made, reinforced the lessons of courage, vigilance, and unwavering devotion. Eli's tiny hands explored his fur, discovering texture, warmth, and reassurance, forming a bond that could withstand trials and fear. Night fell slowly, bringing the comfort of darkness and the quiet rhythm of the cottage. Ranger pressed close to Eli, body radiating warmth and protection, muscles relaxed yet alert. Outside, the forest whispered with the movement of nocturnal creatures, but Ranger's vigilance ensured the baby remained untouched by threat. Claire sat nearby, heartful, tears brimming, witnessing the silent communication between dog and child, the trust that had been forged through fear, courage, and careful guardianship. By midnight, the yard was still, shadows long but harmless. Ranger's amber eyes reflected the soft glow of lamplight as he pressed closer to Eli, body curved protectively, exhaling calm reassurance. The events of the day had tested both courage and loyalty, yet the lessons endured. Ranger had guided the baby through fear, defended him without hesitation, and reinforced a bond that would grow unbreakable over time. As dawn approached, soft light spilled across the yard. Ranger nudged Eli gently, exhaling warmth and protection. The baby stirred, tiny hands clutching instinctively. Claire smiled softly, realizing that every narrow escape, every moment of vigilance, and every act of protection had strengthened their bond. Ranger had not only saved Eli's life, but had nurtured trust, courage, and confidence through every careful movement and every patient breath. The day began again, quiet and measured. Ranger circled the crib, guided Eli through small, safe explorations, and monitored every subtle shift in the environment. Claire watched, heart full of awe, understanding that the dog's vigilance and love had created a sanctuary. Fear had been confronted, danger had been averted, and through it all, trust had grown into a living, breathing bond, one that would endure every challenge yet to come. The cottage lay quiet in the early morning light, mist curling gently along the edges of the yard. Ranger remained alert, lying close to Eli's crib, amber eyes tracking every movement, every flicker of light through the window. Even in the calm, a quiet tension lingered, a memory of past dangers hovering in the corners of the room. Ranger's body was taut, muscles ready, yet his presence radiated warmth and reassurance. The baby stirred, tiny fingers brushing instinctively against his fur. Claire watched silently, her chest tight with both relief and lingering anxiety. "It's okay, Eli," she whispered softly. "A ranger's here. Nothing will hurt you." The words were gentle, but their weight carried the depth of the unspoken truth. Survival was no longer just about avoiding danger. It was about creating trust, hope, and a sense of security that could withstand uncertainty. Ranger exhaled, pressing close to the baby, a living barrier against the unseen, a teacher of patience and courage. A faint rustle outside caught Ranger's attention. His ears twitched, nostrils flaring, tail low but stiff. The wind carried scents and sounds from the forest beyond, subtle shifts that signaled life moving cautiously through the trees. Ranger rose smoothly, muscles rippling beneath his thick coat, and padded to the window. Amber eyes scanned the tree line, cataloging every shadow and movement. Claire held her breath. Each motion was deliberate, measured, and full of purpose, the rhythm of a guardian who had learned that vigilance was an act of love. Eli cooed softly, tiny hands exploring Ranger's fur, finding warmth and comfort in the steady rise and fall of his chest. The dog exhaled slowly, nudging the baby gently, allowing small moments of play and exploration while maintaining unwavering readiness. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her fingers along his thick coat, marveling at the unspoken lessons Ranger had imparted. Trust, patience, courage, and love, all conveyed without words. But in every deliberate movement, every soft nudge, every protective glance, mid-morning sunlight filtered through the window, casting patterns across the room. Ranger guided Eli's tiny hands along his fur, encouraging gentle exploration while blocking hazards with careful nudges. Every gesture was calculated, every movement a lesson in trust and security. Claire marveled at the harmony in the cottage. The dog's presence had become more than protection. It had become a foundation for hope, a constant reminder that even in a world of uncertainty, safety and love could prevail. The forest outside whispered with movement, leaves rustling, birds calling softly, distant animals shifting in the underbrush. Ranger's amber eyes tracked every subtle change, every slight shift in the wind's direction. Though calm prevailed, he remained vigilant, understanding that life could pivot in an instant. He exhaled gently against Eli's hands, pressing warmth and reassurance into the baby's tiny form. Every coo and reach from the child was met with patient guidance, reinforcing trust and the quiet courage that only presence could teach. As the day progressed, the light grew warmer, casting long shadows across the floor. Ranger circled the crib with deliberate precision, muscles rippling, tail low but alert. Eli reached for a small toy, and Ranger nudged it closer, encouraging play while keeping potential danger at bay. Claire watched silently, awed by the depth of the bond. The dog had transformed fear into resilience, caution into curiosity, and vigilance into gentle guidance. The baby's laughter, soft yet clear, echoed through the room, a living testament to trust and hope nurtured in the presence of unwavering devotion. A sudden breeze rattled the window pane, bringing with it the faint scent of rain. Ranger's ears pricked, amber eyes scanning the horizon. His body tensed just enough to communicate readiness without alarming the baby. Claire brushed her hand along his back. "You've got him," she whispered. Through every breath, every moment. "You've kept him safe." Ranger exhaled, nudging Eli gently, pressing close as if to communicate silently. "We face it together. There is hope." The afternoon sun dimmed behind gathering clouds, shadows stretching long across the cottage floor. Ranger remained close to the crib, guiding Eli's movements with precise nudges, circling periodically to maintain safety. Every instinctive motion reinforced lessons of courage, patience, and resilience. The baby's fingers clutched fur instinctively, finding reassurance in warmth and presence. Claire's chest swelled with quiet gratitude, witnessing the profound depth of trust that had grown in the sanctuary of the cottage. As evening approached, the first distant rumbles of a storm echoed through the forest. Ranger rose, muscles coiled, tail stiff, ears forward. The baby stirred, tiny hands reaching instinctively for the dog. Ranger nudged gently, pressing protective warmth against the child, exhaling calm reassurance. The dog's movements were deliberate, measured, yet full of purpose, a perfect balance between vigilance and comfort, readiness, and teaching. Claire stood close, holding her breath, trusting in the guardian before her. The storm's arrival brought a chorus of wind and rain against the roof. Ranger circled the crib, positioning himself between Eli and the elements, muscles coiled, eyes bright amber, exhaling calm to soothe the child. The baby gurgled softly, fingers tracing fur, seeking reassurance, finding it in every gentle nudge, every patient glance. Claire knelt beside them, overwhelmed by the living test of courage and devotion unfolding in silence before her. Night fell fully, the storm raging softly outside. Sighed. Ranger remained vigilant, pressing protectively against Eli, exhalations steady and rhythmic. Claire watched silently, marveling at the unspoken bond, understanding that the lessons of the day, trust, patience, courage, and love, were being absorbed and internalized by the child. Ranger had transformed fear into hope, vigilance into comfort, and presence into a profound foundation for life. By midnight, the storm had begun to subside, leaving only soft rain and distant thunder. Ranger pressed close to Eli, amber eyes reflecting calm assurance, muscles relaxed yet ready to respond. Each gentle nudge, each careful adjustment, each warm exhalation reinforced the bond. Claire's heart swelled with gratitude, recognizing that Ranger's guardianship had transformed fear into security, chaos into calm, and uncertainty into hope. As dawn approached, the clouds parted slightly, revealing pale sunlight. Ranger nudged Eli gently, pressing warmth and reassurance into the baby's small form. The child stirred, reaching instinctively for him, trusting completely in the guardian who had become the center of his world. Claire smiled, heartful, understanding that every moment of vigilance, every act of protection, and every lesson in patience had nurtured something far deeper than safety. It had cultivated hope, resilience, and unwavering trust. By mid-morning, the cottage was quiet and warm. Ranger guided Eli through small explorations, nudging toys safely, circling periodically to ensure protection. Claire watched silently, filled with awe at the seamless integration of guardianship, teaching, and love. The storm had passed, but the lessons endured. Ranger had shown that even amidst fear and uncertainty, trust, courage, and hope could flourish, anchored in presence, nurtured through devotion, and strengthened through shared experience. The late afternoon sun painted the forest in hues of gold and amber, long shadows stretching across the yard. Ranger's ears twitched as he scanned the perimeter, amber eyes alert to every subtle movement, every distant rustle of leaves. Something was out there, something that carried the weight of intent and danger. His instincts sharpened instantly. Muscles coiled beneath his thick fur as he positioned himself closer to Eli, who was playing in the safety of his crib just inside the porch. Claire watched, heart pounding. She could feel the tension radiating from Ranger, a living force that communicated urgency without sound. A ranger. What is it? She whispered, though she knew the dog's senses had already deciphered the answer. He didn't need words. His gaze fixed on the forest, alert yet calm, prepared to act with precision and courage that had become his signature. A faint shadow moved through the trees, a figure, deliberate and quiet. Ranger growled low, a rumble that vibrated through the air, a warning to both the intruder and those within the cottage. His stance was protective, body curved around the crib, tail low but rigid, muscles coiled like springs. Every nerve was attuned, ready to strike, to defend, to sacrifice if necessary. Eli stirred, tiny hands reaching instinctively for Ranger's thick fur. The dog exhaled softly, nudging the baby gently, pressing his warmth into the small body. Claire's heart clenched. She understood that Ranger's devotion was absolute. He would stand on the edge of danger, even the edge of life itself, to protect the fragile life before him. Every move conveyed that message. I am your shield. Nothing will harm you as long as I breathe. The figure in the forest moved closer, unaware of the silent guardian watching with unwavering vigilance. Ranger's ears flicked back and forth, tail sweeping slowly as he calculated distance, timing, and threat. He understood the stakes. One misstep could place Eli in harm's way. But his resolve was ironclad. He would sacrifice everything if needed. Claire's breath caught as she witnessed the intensity of his focus, the pure primal courage that radiated from every fiber of his being. Suddenly, a branch snapped closer to the cottage, the sound amplified by the quiet afternoon. Ranger's head shot up, eyes blazing amber, muscles coiled. The intruder froze, startled by the dog's low growl and commanding stance. Ranger advanced a step, body taut and powerful, exuding an unyielding presence. Claire knelt beside the crib, holding Eli tightly. The baby cooed softly, sensing the tension, yet also feeling the safety emanating from Ranger's every movement. The dog's protective instinct surged. He positioned himself directly between Eli and the forest edge, tail sweeping in careful arcs. muscles coiled to spring into action. The intruder took another cautious step forward, but Ranger barked sharply, a sound both terrifying and commanding. The figure paused, hesitant, weighing the threat against the determination radiating from the German Shepherd. Ranger's growl deepened, a low, rumbling vibration that communicated a singular message. This is the line you cannot cross. Eli's small hands clutched Ranger instinctively. The dog nudged him gently, pressing close, exhaling warmth, radiating calm despite the tension. Claire's chest tightened. She realized the depth of the bond. Ranger was not just protecting Eli. He was embodying love itself, willing to risk his life to ensure the baby's safety. Every heartbeat, every breath, every subtle motion was a testament to unwavering devotion. The intruder hesitated, then stepped back, unnerved by Ranger's commanding presence. The dog's bark echoed again, a reinforcement of the warning. Ranger did not pursue aggressively, knowing his primary duty was to guard Eli, not hunt. He watched every movement, every subtle shift, ensuring the baby remained untouched by the shadow of danger. Holt's relief washing over her as the immediate threat receded. But her heart still raced with the intensity of the moment. Ranger returned to the crib, circling gently, muscles still coiled but movements softened in reassurance. He nudged Eli, guiding tiny hands across his fur, a lesson in calm after tension, trust after fear. The baby gurgled, pressing instinctively against the warm, protective body. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her fingers along the dog's thick coat, marveling at the quiet strength and courage that had just been demonstrated. Ranger's devotion was unwavering, his courage absolute. As evening descended, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples, Ranger maintained vigilant proximity to Eli. The shadows of the forest seemed less threatening in his presence, the night's uncertainty mitigated by his calm authority. Claire prepared a small meal, casting frequent glances at the pair, understanding that every act of protection, every subtle nudge, every patient glance had forged a bond that transcended fear, threat, or danger. Night arrived fully, bringing darkness and stillness. Ranger lay curled protectively around Eli's body, warm, muscles relaxed yet ready to spring into action at the faintest sign of danger. The baby slept peacefully, tiny hands clutching instinctively. Claire watched in awe, understanding that Ranger's willingness to place himself at the edge of sacrifice had created a sanctuary built not only on vigilance, but on profound love. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting silvery patterns across the cottage floor. Ranger's amber eyes glowed faintly, scanning the shadows, every sense alert to the faintest hint of threat. He exhaled softly, pressing closer to Eli, a living shield against the uncertainties of the night. Claire's heart swelled with quiet gratitude. Ranger had stood on the edge of sacrifice and returned, his devotion unshaken, his courage absolute. By midnight, the cottage was quiet, the immediate danger gone, but Ranger remained vigilant, pressed protectively around the baby. Each subtle movement, each careful glance, each nudge of reassurance reinforced the unspoken promise. No harm will come to you while I am here. Claire knelt beside them, brushing along his fur, tears of awe and gratitude streaming silently. She understood the depth of sacrifice, the courage inherent in his vigilance, and the unbreakable bond that had formed between child and guardian. As dawn approached, soft light spilled across the yard. Ranger nudged Eli gently, pressing warmth and reassurance into the baby's small frame. The child stirred, reaching instinctively for him, fingers tracing fur with trust unbroken. Claire smiled softly, heartful. The lesson was clear. Sacrifice was not an abstract concept, but a living reality embodied in the quiet, patient, and unwavering presence of one who loved without hesitation. Morning arrived fully, casting golden light across the yard. Ranger guided Eli through gentle, safe exploration, nudging toys close, circling periodically, exhaling warmth and reassurance. The forest beyond remained quiet, the previous threat absent, yet the bond had grown stronger through trials. Claire watched silently, marveling at the seamless integration of courage, protection, and love that Ranger embodied. Every heartbeat, every breath, every careful action had created a sanctuary built on trust, hope, and the willingness to risk everything for the life of someone precious. The afternoon sun had begun to dip low, painting the forest in molten gold and crimson streaks. The air was heavy with the scent of smoke, subtle at first, barely detectable, but unmistakable to Ranger's sensitive nose. His ears twitched, muscles coiling instinctively beneath his thick coat. The faint rustle of leaves was now overshadowed by a deeper, more urgent alarm. The smell of fire creeping from a distant part of the forest. Ranger's amber eyes scanned the tree line, nostrils flaring, tail low and stiff. Every instinct screamed danger. Eli cooed softly in the crib, tiny fingers brushing against Ranger's fur. The baby was unaware of the looming threat, yet Ranger pressed closer, exhaling warm reassurance while keeping his senses sharp. Claire's chest tightened as she noticed Ranger's sudden alertness. A smoke? Smoke? She asked softly, more to herself than expecting an answer. The dog did not respond with words. His body spoke louder. Every muscle, every movement, every careful glance at the forest communicated urgency, protection, and resolve. The wind shifted, carrying the smell of smoke more strongly. Ranger rose, circling Ila's crib, positioning himself strategically. The baby reached instinctively for his fur, finding comfort in the familiar warmth. Ranger nudged gently, pressing protective warmth against him. Claire knelt beside the pair, brushing her hand along Ranger's thick coat, eyes wide with worry. The forest beyond the yard had been calm for days, but now a new danger threatened. An unpredictable force, consuming and merciless. A small spark ignited among dry underbrush not far from the forest edge. Gonse, Ranger's ears flattened slightly, tail stiffening, further muscles taut. He assessed the spread and direction of the fire, calculating how quickly it might reach the cottage. Claire gasped. Claire gasped. Ranger, what do we do? She whispered. The dog's amber eyes met hers briefly, then returned to the yard. There was no hesitation in his movements. Only determination. His role was clear. Protect Eli, keep him safe, and navigate through whatever peril lay ahead. The first wave of heat from the approaching fire brushed through the trees. Ranger nudged Eli gently, urging the baby to remain low in the crib while his own body became a shield. The flames advanced steadily, licking the outer edges of the forest, consuming dry leaves and underbrush with a crackling roar. Ranger's growl was low, a deep vibration resonating through the room, a warning to the fire, if such a thing were possible, and reassurance to the child he protected. Claire lifted Eli carefully, holding him close. Ranger flanked them, body angled toward the door, muscles coiled to intercept any threat. The fire was now closer, a bright orange glow, visible beyond the yard, heat pressing against the windows. Ranger barked sharply, a warning to the unseen dangers moving in the chaos, his senses attuned to every movement in the smoky haze. The dog exhaled slowly against Eli's back, transmitting calm through warmth, despite the growing peril. The fire crackled closer, sparks floating on the wind. Ranger's instincts guided them toward the safety of the cottage's interior, then to a small back exit leading toward a clear path through the yard. He nudged Claire gently, signaling the urgency without panic. Every step was deliberate, calculated, ensuring that the baby remained safe. Claire followed without hesitation, trusting Ranger implicitly. Eli's tiny hands clutched instinctively, the child sensing protection in the dog's every movement. Outside, the forest burned with an unpredictable intensity, flames dancing across dry branches, smoke curling toward the sky in thick gray ribbons. Ranger moved methodically, circling Claire and Eli, ensuring no sparks or hazards came close. He exhaled slowly, pressing warm protective nudges against both mother and child. Every action communicated both guidance and safety, demonstrating the balance between vigilance and calm amidst chaos. The path through the yard was clear but narrow. Ranger led the way, nose to the ground, tracking both the fire's spread and any obstacles. Sparks floated dangerously close, yet his precise movements allowed them to move safely. Claire kept Eli close, eyes wide, heart racing with each crackle of flame. Ranger's body remained a constant shield, amber eyes scanning every shadow, muscles coiled yet fluid, tail sweeping to signal readiness. The dog's presence transformed panic into careful determination, fear into cautious courage. A sudden gust blew sparks toward the porch. Ranger reacted instantly, nudging Claire and Eli slightly to the side, circling protectively, teeth bared in a warning bark toward the approaching danger. The fire crackled and hissed, yet the baby remained unharmed, nestled close to his guardian. Claire exhaled shakily, brushing her hand along Ranger's fur. Thank you. Thank you for keeping him safe," she whispered, voice trembling with gratitude. Ranger exhaled gently, pressing closer to the baby, signaling that his duty was not complete until all danger had passed. The path to safety was tense but manageable. Ranger guided them carefully to a small clearing beyond the yard, flames now confined to the forest edge. The heat was still intense, smoke thick. Yet he ensured each step avoided hazards, every movement a demonstration of patience, courage, and unwavering protection. Claire held Eli tightly, marveling at the seamless coordination between dog and human instincts. Ranger's devotion had transformed chaos into a path of hope. Nightfall approached, the fire retreating slowly after consuming dry underbrush. Ranger pressed close to Eli, muscles relaxing slightly but remaining alert. The baby gurgled softly, tiny hands exploring his fur, reassured by the warmth and steady rhythm of his guardian's body. Claire exhaled, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. She realized fully that Ranger had not only navigated them through physical danger, but had preserved the baby's trust and courage amidst chaos. By midnight, the fire had moved away from the immediate vicinity, smoke curling lazily into the sky. Ranger remained vigilant, curled protectively around Eli. Every breath, every movement, every subtle shift was calculated, guarding against any lingering danger. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her hand along his fur, heart full of gratitude and awe. The dog's willingness to navigate through fire, danger, and chaos had solidified a bond deeper than words, stronger than fear, and unwavering in its devotion. As dawn approached, soft light filtered through the smoke-laden sky. Ranger nudged Eli gently, exhaling warmth and reassurance. The baby stirred, reaching instinctively for him, trusting the guardian who had guided him through fire and peril. Claire smiled softly, heartful, understanding that every moment of vigilance, every act of courage, every protective nudge had created a bond built not just on survival, but on love, trust, and resilience. Morning came fully, the air clear of smoke, the fire now distant. Ranger guided Eli through careful exploration, nudging toys safely, circling periodically, ever alert. Claire observed silently, marveling at the seamless blend of protection, teaching, and devotion. The lessons of the fire had been absorbed, trust reinforced, and the bond between dog and child deepened, a bond forged through danger, strengthened by courage, and illuminated by unwavering love. The morning air was crisp, tinged with the scent of pine and wet earth after the recent storm. Ranger stood alert at the edge of the yard, amber eyes scanning the horizon, every muscle in his body coiled like a spring, ready to act at a moment's notice. Eli lay in the crib near the porch, tiny fingers clutching the soft blanket, his gaze shifting between the dog and the faint light of the rising sun. Claire knelt close by, brushing along Ranger's fur, heart pounding with a mixture of apprehension and trust. The events of the past days had honed Ranger's instincts to perfection. Every sound, every shadow, every subtle change in the environment registered in his mind instantly. Today, however, felt different, a culmination of threats, trials, and dangers that had tested the limits of his courage and devotion. He exhaled softly, pressing close to Eli, ensuring the baby felt the warmth and safety that only his presence could provide. A faint rustle in the forest caught Ranger's attention. His ears pricked, nostrils flaring, tail low but tense. The intruders, those who had threatened their peace, were returning, moving carefully through the trees. Ranger's low growl vibrated in the air, a warning to both human and foe alike. Claire held her breath, clutching Eli to her chest. The dog's gaze never wavered, muscles rippling beneath his thick coat, every fiber of his being dedicated to protecting the fragile life he had sworn to guard. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the forest edge, moving swiftly but cautiously. Ranger barked sharply, a sound both commanding and intimidating. The intruder froze, startled by the sudden intensity. Ranger stepped forward, stance broad and protective, teeth bared just enough to warn without aggression that could escalate the situation. His amber eyes locked onto the threat, exuding a combination of courage, vigilance, and unwavering devotion. Claire guided Eli behind Ranger instinctively, heart racing. The baby gurgled softly, fingers clutching the dog's fur, sensing both danger and protection. Ranger exhaled slowly, pressing his body protectively around the crib. Every movement was deliberate, calculated, and infused with love, a living shield standing between innocence and threat. The intruder's eyes darted nervously, realizing that this dog was no ordinary guardian. Ranger's presence radiated authority and courage, the silent promise of relentless protection. The intruder lunged suddenly, attempting to bypass Ranger. The dog reacted instantly, muscles coiling, body moving with a precise and fluid grace. A swift bark, a controlled stance, and a careful maneuver pushed the threat back without harm. Ranger's amber eyes remained fixed on the intruder, assessing, calculating, ready to act again. His movements were guided not by anger, but by purpose. Protect Eli, maintain safety, and neutralize danger without unnecessary risk. Eli cooed softly, tiny hands exploring Ranger's fur, unaware of the peril, but instinctively comforted by his presence. Claire whispered, "Stay calm, Eli. Ranger's got you." The dog exhaled, nudging the baby gently with his nose, pressing warmth and reassurance into the child's small form. Every heartbeat, every breath reinforced trust, courage, and the unspoken bond that had grown stronger through every trial and moment of danger. The intruder circled, eyes darting, searching for an opening. Ranger mirrored each movement, agile and precise, muscles coiled yet fluid, ready to respond instantly. The tension in the yard was palpable, every leaf rustle and twig snap amplified by the quiet anticipation. Ranger's growl deepened, low and resonant, a clear signal that the line would not be crossed. Claire's hands trembled slightly as she held Eli, heart pounding at the display of courage and devotion unfolding before her eyes. A sudden gust of wind carried the intruder closer to the yard's edge. Ranger lunged forward, body low and powerful, teeth bared just enough to intimidate without causing injury. The intruder stumbled backward, startled by the dog's controlled authority. Ranger's stance remained firm, muscles rippling, tail sweeping deliberately, eyes locked on the threat. The baby's fingers clutched instinctively, trusting entirely in his guardian. Claire exhaled, tears welling as she witnessed the unwavering courage and dedication in every movement. The intruder hesitated, then retreated into the forest, realizing that persistence would be futile against such vigilant protection. Ranger barked once sharply, ensuring the threat was fully aware of his dominance and readiness. Only then did he return to the crib, circling carefully, pressing close to Eli, exhaling warmth and reassurance. The baby gurgled softly, pressing against the dog's thick coat, finding comfort in the steady rhythm of his guardian's breath. As the sun climbed higher, the yard was calm again, the forest quieted, and the intruder had vanished into the shadows. Ranger remained near the crib, amber eyes scanning every corner, muscles relaxed yet ready. Claire knelt beside them, brushing along his fur, whispering words of gratitude and awe. The final trial had passed, but its impact lingered. The courage, vigilance, and love Ranger had displayed were lessons in their own right. Teachings of protection, resilience, and unwavering devotion. Eli reached for a toy, and Ranger nudged it gently toward him, guiding small movements with precise care. Every gesture reinforced trust, patience, and courage. Claire smiled softly, realizing that the dog had not only defended the baby physically, but had also cultivated emotional security, teaching confidence and resilience through silent presence and gentle guidance. Evening approached, painting the sky in soft oranges and purples. Ranger lay curled protectively around Eli, muscles relaxed yet alert, exhalations calm and rhythmic. The baby gurgled and clutched fur instinctively, reassured by the warmth and steady presence. Claire watched silently, understanding that this final trial had cemented a bond that was unbreakable, a relationship forged in danger, strengthened through courage, and illuminated by unwavering love. By midnight, the cottage was quiet, shadows long and protective, the forest at rest. Ranger pressed close to Eli, amber eyes glowing faintly in the lamplight. Every breath, every nudge, every subtle movement communicated devotion and vigilance. Claire knelt beside them, brushing her hand along his back, heart full. The final trial had tested courage, loyalty, and love, but Ranger had passed without falter, ensuring that the bond between dog and child was deeper and stronger than ever. Morning dawned soft and golden. Ranger nudged Eli gently, exhaling warmth and reassurance. The baby stirred, tiny hands reaching instinctively, trusting entirely in the guardian who had guided him through every peril, every threat, and every trial. Claire smiled, heart full of gratitude, knowing that the final trial had been overcome through courage, vigilance, and love, a bond that would endure every challenge yet to come. The morning sun spilled gently over the cottage, casting a warm glow across the wooden floors and the yard beyond. The storm, the fire, and the threats from the forest had passed, leaving a quiet stillness that felt both fragile and profound. Ranger lay curled around Eli's crib, amber eyes half closed but still watchful. Each breath he exhaled radiated calm reassurance, a constant reminder to the baby that safety and love were present in every moment. Eli cooed softly, small fingers clutching his guardian's fur. Evening approached, painting the sky in soft hues of purple and pink. Ranger circled the crib gently, pressing protective warmth against Eli. The baby's fingers explored his fur, feeling texture, warmth, and the steady rhythm of life that radiated from the dog.